Hello, 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 hello. Okay, welcome in everybody. Welcome to the True Crime. Okay. And we just came from the auction. Thank you everybody again that helped, bought, sold our special featured Spotlighter scooter. Thank you for joining us this evening. And everyone else, Kevin and all our sellers, Tina, Linda, Christy, Abby, Margot, me, somebody else. Who did we have? One Eye. I don't know who else we had. Did we have another seller there? I don't think so. Kevin, Debbie D, Sharon, everybody, all of our buyers, sellers, and everyone. We appreciate you all. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you for spending some time with us. Okay. And then for those of you that are wondering, I did accomplish quite a hefty baking day. Also got one of my trees up, and tomorrow we're putting the other tree up. So yeah, we're doing well. Okay. And if you read my community post, be kind to yourself. It doesn't matter what you're doing, be kind to yourself. Maybe you can't handle certain things, especially if you're grieving this holiday season, or if the grief is a way of your life, like it is with mine. I will grieve for the rest of my life. And if people can't handle it, you know what? You don't have to handle it. It's not your life. So whatever you feel, you do. Maybe one year you can't do something you normally do. Be kind to yourself. Right? Do what you can. There's no, give yourself some grace. And if you can't do something, your family's going to understand if you can't. Maybe someone in your family can't do something because of their grief. It's the important thing is being together, being happy, and making the best of a situation, right? Okay, a lot of people are struggling with grief, with loss, with a lot of things that are not ideal. And there's a lot of miserable people that want to make other people miserable, and that's pretty shitey, but you know what you can do? You can just not pay any attention to that. Okay? That's toxicity that you don't need. So get rid of it. All right, let's go on to Richard Allen. Sentencing, and then we're going to talk about the victim's impact statements, and then we're going to talk about the message from the law enforcement about this craziness that's going around that hurts the victims' families. And we're going to talk about the actual victims' impact statements that were written, okay? So let's get to that right now. Alrighty. So Richard Allen was sentenced to 130 years. It was 65 for each murder. Now, here's the thing. He originally had 4 counts of murder, but they couldn't do it. They had to drop, we talked about it last night, 2 counts because it would be, in a sense, double jeopardy to be sentenced for the same murder twice. You can't do it. So that's what it was, and it was 65 for each, and they're running consecutively. So let's talk about this. Special Judge Fran Gull sentenced Richard Allen to 130 years for the February 2017 murders of Abby Williams and Liberty German. Abigail Williams. He was given credit for 786 days served, and there were 6 family members that gave victims impact statements. The sentencing range for Richard Allen was 45 years to 130, so he got the maximum. He was given 65 years for counts 3 and 4 to be served consecutively for a total of 130 years. Counts 1 and 2 were vacated because of double jeopardy at the request of Allen's attorneys. The sentencing came more than a month after a jury found Richard Allen guilty on 4 counts of murder. Prosecutors say that Richard Allen put himself on the bridge on February 13th of 2017, the day of the murders, and linked him to the crime scene through an unspent cartridge found at the crime scene. A forensic firearms expert testified that the cartridge has been cycled through Allen's 6 Sawyer P226. Police recovered the firearm during an October 2022 search of Allen's home on Whiteman Drive. While in custody, Richard Allen confessed to the murders dozens of times. The judge allowed the confessions and the bullet evidence to be admitted at the trial over the objections of the defense lawyers, Andrew Baldwin and Bradley Rossi. The attorneys argued that Richard Allen's confessions were the result of mental duress he suffered while being held in isolation for months. The judge appointed to the case by the Indiana Supreme Court after the original judge recused himself stymied the defense's efforts to present its alternative murder theory in court. Allen's attorneys blamed Odinists, members of a Norse pagan group, for killing the girls as part of a ritual. Allen's attorneys filed a motion this week maintaining his innocence and saying they would not present evidence at Friday's sentencing hearing. The plan is they're moving forward with an appeal. During the sentencing hearing, Richard Allen responded to a handful of questions from the judge. It was the first time he'd spoken in court. He provided his name. He answered a few questions, and he declined to speak on his own behalf. When asked if he was satisfied with his representation, he answered yes. 6 family members described the impact of the girls, Liberty and Abby's murders, on their lives and admonished the defense for its handling of the case. They were upset about the release of crime scene photos that stemmed from an evidence leak in 2023. The photos forced them to relive their nightmare over and over, they told the court. Lieutenant Jerry Holman, an Indiana State Police investigator who handled the case for years, said police poured their hearts and souls into the case for nearly 8 years and called the murders very brutal. He said no one can imagine the fear that the girls encountered that day. And he said Allen went on to live a normal life like nothing happened. Hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry about that. Holman interrogated Allen in October of 2022, and that interview ended with Allen daring Holman to arrest him, and Holman obliged Allen. Libby German's mother, Carrie Timmons, couldn't adequately explain the path of destruction that Richard Allen left in his wake. She told the court she couldn't process how Allen, a husband and father, could have done something so heinous. And she said, and I quote, "Libby would be 22 years old and should be here. The family was cheated out of her life, leaving them with massive grief and a hole in my soul. I'll never understand how you were able to get away with this for so long. Please, put me on your visitors list. I'll listen," she said, alluding to Allen's desire to apologize to the girl's family from one of his confessions. A cousin of Liberty German's, Josh Lank, said Libby was one of a kind, and Richard Allen took so much away from those girls. He said God had no place for him, but the devil has a place for him. This man has made my family's life a living hell. Now it's time for your life to be a living hell. He suggested that Richard Allen was a dead man walking. Abby Williams' grandmother, Diana Erskine, called the sentencing hearing a day of great sadness. Abby brought so much joy to the family, she said she wondered how she would ever erase the memories of the autopsy and the crime scene photos. Sleep is not an escape, she said, adding she seldom slept through the night without waking up. I will never be the same person I was before Abigail's murder. Alan took Abby's life on earth, but she had already given her heart to God. Abby's grandfather, Eric Erskine, also took the stand. Like other family members, he said the murders were difficult to process and likened Abby's death to losing a limb that will never grow back. He called the murders a horrific and senseless act. What he saw at the trial only affirmed his worst nightmares about what his granddaughter and her friend went through. You will never take away our memories and their legacy, he said. He criticized Alan for failing to set the record straight when he had the chance. Becky, Patty, Libby's grandmother, appeared angry on the stand. She had previously delivered emotional testimony during the trial. She said Alan was lying in wait and drank beer for liquid courage before he viciously and heartlessly killed the girls. She called him a coward and noticed he developed photos for Libby's funeral as part of his job as a pharmacy technician at the local CVS. This proved he showed no remorse. He robbed us all. The world was robbed. Patty then set her sights on Alan's defense attorneys and said their actions had twisted the knife over and over, with crime scene photos still being shared online to this day, victimizing the families and the girls over and over. She describes the deafening silence at home and the grandchildren who would never come into their lives. Their lives mattered, she said. He's the one responsible for all of this. This sentence needs to reflect the murders and each day the girls would have lived. She told the court that she hoped he ended up in the general prison population so he could have the human interaction he desperately craves. Patty also said she hoped Alan's relationship with God will compel him to stop the case from going forward. I live with my choice to let them go on the trails that day. What about you, Richard Allen? Mike Patty, Libby's grandfather, also addressed the court. He called out the podcasters and the YouTubers who suggested that the family and the police were corrupt. He reminded the court that the family received crime scene photos and noted that Alan had showed no remorse and no regret. Like other family members, he said he couldn't imagine the fear they felt once they encountered Richard Allen on February 13, 2017, and he asked the judge to give him a harsh sentence. This is a man who, if allowed out again, will kill again. He's a dangerous man. In the grandfather's opinion, the brutality of the crime outweighed any mitigating factors. Once the victim's impact statements were over, that's when the judge asked Richard Allen if he wanted to address the court, to which Allen answered, "No, Your Honor." He didn't want to. The judge said she has been a judge for a long time and presided over some hideous cases, but said that the Delphi murders ranked right up there. The impact on the families was astonishing, and they had to deal with Allen's carnage. She then addressed him directly and said, "You sit here and roll your eyes at me as you have rolled your eyes at me throughout this trial." It was a telling moment, given that the media and court observers couldn't see Allen from their vantage point to gauge his reaction to various happenings in the court. With her role in the case at its end, Gull lifted the gag order that had been in place for more than 2 years. The proceedings ended with a contentious exchange between defense attorney Jennifer Auger and McLeland. Okay, so let's go on to another thing that was said was hang on. Libby's grandfather, Mike Patty, thanked the jurors on Friday, saying he would forever be grateful for their work as well as the prosecutors and the investigators. He also expressed gratitude for the community. He said, embraced the families of the young victims from day one and continues to lift us up. It's been almost 8 years, he said at the press conference that followed the hearing. If I lived to make it to 80, almost 10% of my life has been spent working on this. A form of justice was served, but it does not bring Abby or Libby back. That came from the Carroll County Sheriff, Tony Leggett. He added that he hoped the conviction and sentencing would reassure residents about security, but he said these families will live every day without two of the most important people in their lives. He apologized to the families that it took 8 years for them to get to this point. Despite, defense attorneys contend that Allen was mentally unwell when he told people he was guilty. Okay. Thoughts and prayers to the families of the victims. What they went through was unimaginable, said the defense attorney Jennifer Auger. She added that the defense plans to give more detailed statement later, but today is not the day for that. Allen's defense argued that his confessions were unreliable because he was facing a severe mental health crisis under the pressure and stress of being locked up in isolation and watched for 24 hours a day and taunted by people incarcerated with him. Psychiatrists called by the defense testified that months in solitary confinement could make a person delirious and psychotic. Defense attorney Bradley Rozzi said in his closing arguments that Allen was innocent. He said no witness explicitly identified Allen as the man seen on the hiking trail or the bridge that afternoon the girls went missing. He also said no fingerprint, DNA, or forensic evidence links Allen to the murder scene. Allen's lawyers had sought to argue during the trial that the girls were killed in a ritual sacrifice by members of a white nationalist group known as Odinists, who follow a pagan Norse religion. The judge, however, ruled against that, saying the defense failed to produce admissible evidence of such a connection. Okay, let's see. The girls' families, who had not been allowed to comment publicly about the case, also spoke at the sentencing, so finally they're able to. Liberty's mother, Carrie Timmons, said of Mr. Allen, "I was blind that such evil existed." Abigail's grandmother, Diane Erskine, said, "This is a day of great sadness for our family. We won't be going home to celebrate with champagne." All right. I want to, hang on one second. I want to go over, oopsie, was that my glasses? No. To Twitter for a second. Okay. So here is one of the, this is the words of Becky Patty. To Honorable Judge Gull, where does one start? How does one explain the effect of how one choice a person makes has on an entire family for generations to come. I don't think one can really explain and do it justice. There are not enough words in our language that begin to paint the picture of the grief we live with each and every day. Richard Allen was an adult, and he should be held accountable for the choices he made on February 13th, 2017. He chose not to go to lunch with his mom and sister. Instead, chose to drink beer for liquid courage. He chose to lay in wait for his victims, to order them down the hill. He had the opportunity to let Libby and Abby go when that white van drove by, but he chose not to do so. Instead, he chose to take them across the creek where he viciously murdered them, making sure they were dead before he went home and continued his life. Richard Allen viciously and heartlessly stole the choice to live from Abby and Libby that day. He was a coward and didn't want to be held accountable for his heinous choices and actions, so he just killed them and went home. I guess in his eyes, he was nice enough to make sure they were dead before leaving so they wouldn't suffer. A few days later, he developed photos for the family that would be used at Libby's funeral. He stood there watching the family members as they struggled to keep their composure while dealing with the insurmountable grief and preparing for the unthinkable that lay ahead, not blinking an eye, with no remorse. I wonder what he was thinking. Our lives turned upside down that day, never to be the same again. Abby and Libby, two young teens with their entire futures ahead of them, they never got the opportunity to make their marks in the world. He stole that from them. Libby never got to go to the prom, graduate, go on dates, go to college, get married, or start a family. She never got to be the best aunt ever. He robbed us all. The world was robbed of what could have been. All the while he went on living his life. He was able to walk his daughter down the aisle and give her away at her wedding. I wonder, did he think of the girls at all while walking her down the aisle? Our families will never get the privilege of watching Libby or Abby walk down that aisle. He took that away from us. The impact of Richard Allen's choices made that day has haunted our families for almost 8 years and continues even now because of choices he made and subsequent arrest. He was appointed 2 lawyers to defend him. Those lawyers have done nothing but twist the knife around and around in our wounds Richard caused that day. Because of one lawyer's sloppiness, sealed crime scene photos of Libby's naked and mutilated body were left unattended, allowing the images to be taken and spread around to people on the internet. As recent as this week, those crime scene photos were still being shared on the internet for no good reason or entertainment by many. Sharing those photos changes nothing. It doesn't solve the crime. It doesn't bring the girls back. So now, because of Richard Allen's choices that day and his lawyer's sloppiness, the impact has now become generational for us. One day, when Libby's nieces or nephews decide they want to learn more about their Aunt Libby, they may be faced with those horrible crime scene photos that were so carelessly taken care of. I wonder if his lawyer would have been so careless with those photos if they were photos of one of his children. Would he still have felt no accountability because he was snookered? And then you have the other lawyer who sat in the judge's chambers and stating he really didn't care that the photos had been leaked. I wonder if he would have been so callous and uncaring if those were photos of his child's naked and mutilated body being shared. Would he still not care? No. These professionals are allowed to claim no accountability for their actions and move on to the next case, disrespecting and devaluing the next victim and their families. Meanwhile, our families are left picking up the pieces because of their choices and actions. In the end, all these choices made by the defense team, the fallout our families now have to live with, falls directly on the head of Richard Allen because of the choices he made on February 13th, 2017. I could go on and on about what we lost that day, but it would change nothing. The deafening silence in the house, the milestones missed, the grandbabies never to sit on our laps, the impact Libby and Abby would have had on so many lives. Talking about it won't bring them back to us. Nothing in this world can change the outcome of that horrific day, no matter how hard we wish or pray them back. They are gone forever. Only Richard Allen, making a different choice that day, could have changed it. Their lives were in the balance. He chose to kill Abby and Libby. Their lives mattered. He is the one responsible for all of this. All I can hope for now is that Richard Allen will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law for what he did. That day, his sentence needs to reflect not only of murdering the girls, but also serving time for each day of those girls, for each day of life those girls still had in front of them, for every feat they may have accomplished. I feel he should serve 1 day behind bars for each future day he robbed from those girls. I hope he is not held in a single occupancy cell, since his attorneys feel it would be detrimental to his health. I hope he is ordered to reside in general population so he can have the human interaction he so craves and needs. Last of all, I hope he lives each day of the rest of his life living with the same fear he bestowed on Abby and Libby at the last hour of their lives. I hope the choices he made on February 13th, 2017 come back to haunt him, giving him no peace. I realize I should not feel this way, but I can't stop these feelings. I hope God can see my heart and can forgive me. I hope Richard Allen's new relationship with God will finally compel him to do the right thing and to stop this nightmare from continuing any longer, not only for our families, but his as well. He needs to do what he knows God would want him to do. I hope he finally gives the girls the respect they deserve. Give them back the dignity he so callously took from them. Richard Allen took so much from our families and the world that day, but what he will never take from us is our memories and we have of Libby and Abby. We will forever keep them alive, even if it can only be in our hearts. I live every day with the burden of the choice I made that fateful day. I can never change the results of my choice of letting the girls go to the trails, and I take responsibility for that. What about you, Richard Allen? Will you ever open up and take responsibility for the choices you made that day? Once you can stop this nightmare for all the families, you can make that choice. And then there was a handwritten part, and it says, when does it ever stop? As recent as yesterday, the defense continued playing their games. They know law enforcement investigated their third-party theories with never being able to place any of those people at the trails that day. They continue their charades at the expense of Abby and Libby. We don't even want to go there. Talking about hardships caused to family, Richard Allen is not the victim. Okay, let's see here. Okay, somebody said, I don't know who this is, somebody named Dahlia West said that her mother caught the Delphi killer. She's lived in Carroll County for her entire life. She came out of retirement as the child abuse investigator of 40 plus years to volunteer unpaid to do anything she could to help. She was asked to go through the files and files of years worth of paperwork and found him through due diligence and her unwavering resolve to help the children of Carroll County. She will never make any kind of public statement about it, but she lasted 40 years in a job where most people quit before 10. And even after she retired, she still felt called to help in some small way. She never gave up. She did what little she could. She showed up every week for 8 years to do what was needed, and from sweeping floors to baking cookies for the FBI to putting tips into the database. She will never ask for a thank you, but I think she deserves it. Let's see here. Okay, so let's see where you guys are. Alright, let me put you in live chat. Hi, UHP. Hi, Ruth Ann. Hello, Kevin Leonard. Hello, Heartmade Wise. Hello, Snow Remover. Linda. Ruth Ann. Margot, it's just me. UHP. Maureen Gunn, hi. Okay, so yeah, that's anybody have anything else to say about this or anything else? Let me see what let me see something. All right. I'm going to take a look at what's going on in the I've been baking like seriously like the better part of the day before the what the heck? What is this about? This is weird. This woman in Maine. Get over there. Get over there. This woman in Maine, 39-year-old Maine woman, has been charged with the murder of a 14-year-old boy after he was found dead in Kennebec County. Maine State Police say the woman made an in-person report about an incident at her home in Sydney just before 5:30 a.m. Friday. At the Androscoggin County Sheriff's Office, deputies there contacted the Kennebec County Sheriff's Office because the home was in that county. Deputies conducted a well-being check of the home, and they found the boy dead outside. An autopsy determined the boy died from asphyxiation, manual strangulation, and sharp force injury. The Maine State Police detectives launched an investigation, and they arrested Megan McDonald just before 2 p.m. The teen's identity has not been released. Regional School Unit 18 Superintendent Carl Gartley said Friday morning that a Messalonsky high school student has died without naming the student. Messalonsky serves the students from Sydney and several unincorporated communities of Kennebec County. No further information was known. So what is that? His mother? What's going on with that? But I don't know. It's been a long, long day. And I'm tired. And gotta get to bed. I've got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. I've got my cousins are up from South Carolina, and I'm gonna bring some cookies down, go see them, or they're gonna come here. Gotta get the tree up, all that kind of stuff. And it's snowing here. I don't know if we'll lose power. You never know. So I have to get some rest. So I'm gonna do the daily puzzle, and then I'm gonna get some rest. Merry Christmas, Maureen. There's a bunch of channels supporting Richard Allen. They call him Ricky. Ugh. Yeah, there's always going to be those ones that just want to go against the grain, right? They just love it. Tell them black, they say white. Tell them red, they say blue. Tell them, yellow, they say green. Tell them the sky's blue, they say it's black. There's just people like that. They just love to go against the grain, no matter what it is. Hi, Murder of Crows. I haven't seen you in a long time. How are you, Murder of Crows? I saw you somewhere recently. You've been very busy? I saw you somewhere. I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere else. I don't know where it was. Yeah, it's snowing, right? I know. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Oh. Okay. don't know what I was doing. I thought that was the I. Isn't that crazy? Oh, thank you for gifting 5 memberships, Snow Remover. Murder of Crows, you just were gifted a membership from Snow Remover. Congratulations. Thank you, Snow Remover. Tracy Moore, you were gifted a membership from Snow Remover. Congratulations. Mom in the Shoe, you were gifted a membership from Snow Remover. Congratulations. Kaz617 was gifted a membership by Snow Remover. And Wyatt Rye Sway, you were gifted a membership from Snow Remover. Congratulations to all the new members. Thank you, Snow. Let's see. Oh, I know. Okay, let me got it. Oh, it made a sound here for me, Snow Remover. I heard it. Didn't everybody else hear it? Did you guys hear the sound? Did you guys hear it? I heard it. Who heard the sound? Oh yeah, you know what? We have to check on that Natalia Grace, right? You didn't hear it? I heard it. How could I hear it and you not hear it? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, you heard it. Good. Thank you, Maureen Gunn. Everybody wants to make me think I'm crazy. Thank you, Maureen Gunn. Linda heard it too. Thank you, Linda, for not making me feel crazy. You heard it too, Murder Cruise. Thank you for making me not feel crazy. Oh, good night. Okay, good night. Snow, you going to bed? You going to bed? Okay, good night, everybody. Good night, Snow Remover. Thank you for the memberships. Appreciate the channel support. Oh my gosh. What's the matter, Snow? Snow, I tried to mail your birthday present today, and you know what it told me? It said it was still, I can't do it. And supposedly not until Tuesday. Crazy, right? Crazy. But I'll get it out. One of these days, it's not like the other. One of these days, that postal strike will be not a thing. One of these days is not like the other. Hey, I need this last word, okay? A relic. Relic. That sounds like it is. Yay! We did it. Okay, I'm just going to check about Natalia Grace because you guys said about Natalia Grace. I want to see if the new series is on. Okay. The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. Da 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 da. When does this start again? Oh, it's going to return. The final chapter returns on January 6th through 7th. I told you guys that I thought that's when we were watching it. That I thought, well, I think it was earlier than that because I remember my daughter was here, and that would have been between Christmas and New Year's. My daughter's coming home in a couple of days. Yay, yay, yay. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to bed, guys. I have to go to bed. I'm so tired. I can't even keep my eyes open. They will not stay open. I love you guys. God bless. Prayers. We'll see you tomorrow. Be good. I love you. Good night. God bless.